Introducing the ultimate seat cover, Tiger Tough. Proudly made in the US of A, waterproof and backed by an unconditional warranty. Yes, you heard it right. 2 years on vehicles and a lifetime guarantee on heavy equipment. They have you covered for manufacturer defects, normal wear and tear, and even those oh shit moments. Tiger Tough covers are meticulously crafted for a perfect fit with over 30,000 pre-fit designs, ensuring they stay in place without any shifting or sliding. Plus, they're even machine washable. Don't settle for less. Get a seat cover today that's built to last. Order today at tigertough.com/dirt. Get a free logo embroidery on your first order if you use the code DIRTBAG at checkout. Once received, show us your new badass seat covers with your logo and tag us. Experience durability and quality with Tiger Tough seat covers. Toughness guaranteed.
What's up, you dirtbags? We are back in studio. I've got a cold Coors Light. Mr. Luke, how we doing, man?
Cheers, brother. Good. You know, you just said you were going to grab a beer, and I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. And I should have probably went and grabbed one at the same time. But anyway, that's okay. I don't need to drink tonight, but I am doing good, man. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. It feels great to be back in the Coors Light train. I know we've been pushing a lot of their product. For anyone wondering, we did not get a deal done yet. So
Not yet.
We're still in free agency. Obviously, we're pushing it big with some of our content, but the mountains are blue, but they're just not that blue yet. So they have not brought us on.
See, I'm more of a yellow jacket guy myself. Give me the banquets. Coors Light's good, but I'm on that yellow jacket train. But
I feel that.
Yeah. But anyway, we're working on it. But
Yeah.
Luke, it has been a while since it's just been you and I. Obviously, we've had some fucking kind of busy months.
Yeah,
February,
dude.
March is going to be busy, so it's good to be back in the saddle.
Dude, it feels so good to be back recording. We've had some awesome episodes come out already, but yeah, just sometimes you need to reset the business. And by business, I mean dirtbags, and just reset the vision, take a look at the year, reset some episodes, some ideas. And I feel so good about this year. And I know, I guess we could address this but at the beginning of our episodes now, you'll hear a new partnership announcement. And so we brought on Tiger Tough, a Minnesota company. They manufacture everything in the USA. Just one of those companies that fits exactly who we want to work with. I believe it was 2022. So they'd always done manufactured seat covers and for trucks. But in 2022, I believe it was, they got into the heavy equipment market. And so now they have like 30 some thousand makes and models in their system. And so if you have any type of equipment, you put it in their website and you can get seat covers for that piece of equipment. And it fits perfectly for our type of listener because usually our listeners, they've got their socks on when they're operating. Everything's spick and span. It's clean. People are taking care of their equipment. They're tinting it. They're putting decals on it, as James would say, making it look good. But it's such a great partnership for us. And so I know we've got our own landing page. It's tigertough.com/dirt. But then also we've got that code. I think if you use code DIRTBAG at checkout, you get a free logo embroidered on it. So it's been awesome to see people using that and using our code.
That is cool. I got to get mine ordered here this upcoming week. That's on my to-do list. So getting some for a lot of our excavators because those seem to be probably excavators and dozers mainly. But random on the topic of tinting, I'm sure everybody loves tinted machinery, but I will never tint one of my machines. I have made that decision. Won't do it. I don't care how cool it looks. It's not worth the money, in my opinion.
So, because I've never been in a tinted machine, is it harder to see?
When it's tinted, absolutely. Like if you tint skids and you're pushing snow at night, it's a lot darker than a non-tinted skid. And I'll tell you what, we buy new machines and try to change them out every, 5 to 6 years. That AC works damn good. So I don't want to hear the excuse of, oh, well, it's the heat. It blocks the heat. Fuck you. Sure. Maybe on like a 97 Kubota, but not on our, no.
It does look, but it does look pretty clean, but yeah, that could be the rant topic for this episode is like
no tint for this guy. Fuck that.
But, cause have you ever tinted?
Nope.
We haven't.
And I never will because like to tint a skid steer, it's like $1,000. So I'm like, if I have 30 machines I'm not spending $30,000 to get tinted, or that's $3,000, not $30,000. Sorry.
Yeah.
Or no,
Well,
that is
no,
thirty thousand
that's
dollars.
30.
Yeah,
If you had if you had
yeah,
30,
my numbers are all fucked up. You can tell it's been a long day. But yeah, 30 grand on tint? No thanks.
yeah.
I'll go buy a bunch of Tiger Tough seats.
Yeah, I mean, you could say the same, or somebody else could say the same thing for painting your machines. And obviously, there's an argument for that too. I love it for branding purposes of just like keeping it the same. But um, yeah, I know that's expensive as shit too. Is like when you start getting into some bigger machines and you start painting them, it's like what were some of your bigger excavators to?
Our 320 that we
Yeah.
painted, that was 18,000.
Oh,
Which I mean, but if you're branding with tint,
yeah,
get a better fucking branding person in your office or get some better ideas
right.
because nobody's gonna recognize you because you have tinted windows.
Yeah, that I mean that's apples to oranges. That doesn't even add into the conversation. So, um, sweet dude. Well, let's get into it. We've got a Q&A episode, even though this is a little bit of a rant, but Q&A episode. So before we dive in, I know we need to get everyone updated on Dirtbags University. You and I
Yep.
are going to come up with the speaker and the topic and the date. So that'll be coming out. We'll develop a better system for this. Right now, what we've been doing is when we get the date and everything solidified, we put it on social media, we put it on the website. But right now, if you go to our website and you go to Dirtbags University, it just says like come back and we'll tell you when it is. So
We're
Luke, I
working on
think you and I need to get better about like scheduling out a couple more
it. I agree.
and getting that dialed in. But we'll announce it here, and then we've got some exciting guests coming in too. So keep your eyes peeled for those episodes. And as always, you can find all of our episodes on YouTube. Some of our shorts, we've been putting a lot more short form content out, and some of those have been doing really well. So it's cool to see get some new dirtbags listening from our TikToks and our YouTube shorts and stuff. But and then I guess one other thing is for those OGs that have been listening for a long time. So our producer Brandon, he's been working with Phaser for he's our longest standing Phaser employee. So he's been with me like 3 years and 8 months, something like that. And he actually produced our original podcast, Phaser Friday. Day one Dirtbag has produced every single episode for Luke and I. We are hiring him full time, and we are so excited. He actually by the time,
Graduated school.
yep, dude,
Excited.
finally. I mean, he's been in college forever, and so
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm like, dude, once you get out of college, it's gonna be so much more fun to have you full time Dirtbags, full time Phaser. But I say that because he is going to be doing a lot more for us as well. And so I think we're really going to see some growth here as far as our organization and what we can do with content. So check our YouTube channel, obviously Instagram, social media. We'll be putting out a lot more short form content, having Brandon full time there. So
Absolutely. Brandon, congrats to you if you're listening when you're editing. Way to finish, man.
yeah, congrats, dude. And now we can really get to work. So
Absolutely. All
cool.
right, man. Well, like you said, Q&A question.
Yeah,
We
let's
had a very good response out of questions here, so I'll let you start. Which, pick of your litter.
yeah, let's dive into it here. So we've got Cliff, my man Cliff. It's Cliffe, so it might be Cliffy. Cliff says opinions on starting off with older machines or finance something new and go for bigger work, which I don't know if those correlate. Curious, I started for myself last year, one man, one dozer.
Imprint.
Um,
Cliff, hell yeah, good question.
yep. So great question. Kind of like I mentioned, I think financing something new and going for bigger work, I don't know if that correlates well, but Luke, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. I know there's no right or wrong with this answer because everyone's different, and we don't have Cliff's financial statements or his credit history or anything. But how would you answer this question just based off your opinions?
Just based off the first part, like, hey, if you've got some older machines available to you and they run, why not give them a go? Right?
Absolutely.
Why put yourself into debt when you have, kind of the tools in front of you already to try it? And then you can kind of dial in your needs from there. If you do have work lined up, and they kind of correlate, financing new equipment, bigger work, there's more of a guarantee that your equipment's going to work. It's going to, respond how it needs to respond, other than, on the older side, you might have issues, you might have breakdowns, so it might be a little less reliable. So, I mean, I think you just take the tools you got, man, bank some money up, and then you can kind of adjust your needs based on that. If you need different machines for different projects, then you can kind of invest that way. Again, not really a right or wrong answer, but I think utilizing the tools instead of trying to jump forward before could kind of set you up for, not disaster, but a little bit of struggle.
Yeah, and one big point here too. I mean, he's brand new. This is
Yep.
like going into his second year. And so
Yep.
there's a lot of problems, and I know he's listening right now. So there's a lot of problems he's already gone through and is going through and is fixing with everything from invoicing to getting customers to pay to finding customers to broken down equipment to maybe hiring help. There's so many other things. And so kind of like you mentioned, Luke, going through those trials right now is a good thing before just trying to add on so much debt when you don't really know what you're doing. So
Yep.
continuing to invest your time into like going to webinars like our Dirtbags University, or talking to people on Instagram, or reaching out to people asking questions, just making sure you're always learning and growing. And then when you're ready for that next piece of equipment, you'll know. I think that next project will come up where you can't do it with your one dozer, and then also hiring help too. I think subcontracting is a great way to start, where you don't have to assume all the risk and you can just get in with somebody that can take on some of that workload for you.
I agree. In his kind of second part of the question here, in my head, does newer machine mean more work? No, it doesn't. Doesn't mean that at all. So get that out of your head, right? The biggest thing with machines is utilization rates. If you
Yeah.
don't know what those are, look up a utilization rate calculator, and then that'll help you depict if you should buy a new machine at all. Randy, we took on Randy Blunt as kind of like our consultant through the year, and he has been pounding that into us. Look at your utilization, see what you can get away with renting. If you have to buy, do it, but it all comes down to that utilization rate.
I just thought of something after the podcast. Hopefully I remember, but let me know and we'll talk about it.
I'll
Uh,
write it down here.
okay. Hopefully my little brain can get it that far. So let's do the next one. We've got Ashton Danner. So this is a good one. Best tips for a young man to succeed inside a company. What does the boss want to see?
Dude, that is honestly a really good question, because I think it depends on the company, right? There's companies that have old school bosses that are, they want your time, right? And the more time you give them, the more they, the more to them you're putting in work, right? So I think for, reading the question again, best tips for a young man to succeed inside a company. Dude, show up, be willing to learn, be willing to put your phone away. We've encountered this a lot where guys love to be on their phones during the day. And yeah, sure, there's times where trucks are slow or waiting on material or whatever. Yeah, hop on TikTok, I do it. But it's when there's something going on, have that attentiveness, have that want to learn, and then, have some motivation to be like, get me in that machine. Show me how to
Yeah.
run that, put me in scenarios to where I can fail, but then learn from, build your value that way. What does the boss want to see? They want to see you have motivation. They want to see you have a good attitude, show up. That's really all they ask, right? The best thing that I learned this year is taking challenge, not so much through like the victim mentality of like, oh, this fucking sucks, but more looking at it like, what am I going to learn from this? What can I
Yeah.
gain from this that's going to make me more valuable?
Yeah. And Ashton, one thing I would say to that too is because I think about it when I was an employee, and what got me fired up is understanding the owner's vision and their dreams and helping them accomplish it. Like they get fired up. And I'm using my example when I was an employee. When I talked to my boss and I was like, hey, if I'm here anyway working, like there's got to be something we're shooting towards. What helped me understand it. And I was super interested. I love business. I love making money. I love making systems work. And so I was like, let's dive into this further. So we would have meetings and we would talk about his dreams of what he wants to do and how much money he wants to make and what our goals are. And I was like, okay, I think I can help you get there if you allow me to do this. And so he was like, yeah, Luke, go for it. Here, let me know what you need. And I would, create a plan, like a 12-month plan, and be like, let's go get it. Because the more money he makes, the
The
more
more,
money I make. The more successful he is, the more successful I am. So really understanding the owners and the business's goals and dreams, and then helping them accomplish it, is a huge perk. And also too, you as the employee, it'll be so much more rewarding when you go to work every day, because you're working for something so much bigger than just your paycheck.
yeah, that's a huge point right there. Go in with the attitude that you're not just working for a paycheck. Say
Yeah.
you want to start your own business someday, right?
Oh
Learn
yeah.
what you can when you're working within that company, because the good owners are going to teach you. They know that they don't own anybody. They're going to try to keep people as long as they can and try to help them develop the growth plan through their company. The bad ones won't, but you'll be able to tell that pretty easily. But it's show up. Fuck yeah. Let her buck. Have some fun. Go
Let's
all out.
go.
You're there to get paid anyway, so you might as well give it your all.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I love that. What a great question. And what to have the wherewithal to ask that question, I think is
Yep.
huge. So,
Yep. Just to
honestly,
have
that puts you so much further ahead anyway, just to ask that question.
that sense of like, hey, what do people look for? Just to have that gauge of like, this is what I'm going in to this position hoping to accomplish, or hoping to learn and hoping to provide. So very cool.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Next question. We've got Gardner Enterprises. I thought this was a good one. So he asked, what's the best form of paid advertising for smaller companies under $1 million annual revenue, between Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram, etc. So I can jump on this one as far as
Help
like
you.
paid advertising. So what we've seen, and it depends a little bit on the services you offer. And so on this one, I asked them further, what type of services, because if you're going for only commercial work, my answer changes. So for him, their average, they do a lot of concrete work, and I believe it's pronounced helical
Yep.
pile installation.
Yep.
And so ask them what his average job is, because usually that helps too of what their cost per lead would be. But their average residential deck job is about $2,500, and then their full houses anywhere from 30K to 100K. So
Those get expensive. Damn.
yeah, so for something like that, the way I look at it is the best that I would at least try, and he probably isn't doing any of these because he didn't mention it. It's something called Google Local Service Ads, and it's Google's version of pay per lead. So to go a bit further, Google has something called pay per click, which most people have heard of, PPC. That is where you pay to be at the top, and when somebody clicks on your ad, you pay for every click. That's a good strategy, but there's also another system that they have called Google LSAs, so Google Local Service Ads, and it's getting better and better as the years go on. Basically, in a nutshell, they have some general contracting and some concrete services that this would fit into Gardner Enterprises wheelhouse. And so if you do a Google search, you know how there's like the sponsored posts at the top. So those would be your Google PPC ads. Now you may have seen it. There's a green check mark called Google Guaranteed. Those are where the LSAs are. And so what it is you set it up separately. You have to verify your business through Google. You actually have to like send in insurance forms and all this stuff. They verify you, and then you can run your ads on a pay per lead basis. So if you set your budget, say $500 a week, 2K a month, and it'll tell you roughly how many leads you're going to get every week. And then the great part about it though is that if you get a lead that is outside of your radius, or it's not something you even offer, you can dispute it, and Google will refund that payment for the lead. And you only pay when you get a lead. So it's a great thing to try. It's not the only thing that I would do, but it's a great thing to start with. See if you can get some traction there. And then next up, I would add for your business, probably a Google pay-per-click campaign. And that's where you'd want to get more granular, work with like an expert. Probably not do that yourself and run a smart campaign, but have somebody that knows how to get in the back end and can get the right keywords for you. So start with Google local service ads, then probably go to a pay-per-click campaign. And then of course, let me know if you have any questions on that. I can point in the right direction, but that's what I would do for your type of work that you're offering.
Yep. Those good points. I want to touch on, Luke, you might find this kind of funny, but like when we were starting, right, we started kind of, and this was probably during you as well, but like we would do a lot of stuff on Facebook. We would go to
Yep.
Marketplace and, create like an ad in a way that tried to like hide it as like a sales post to Facebook
Yep.
so it would go. And I don't want to say we were the first ones to do that in our area. There was maybe a couple other people, but I was so petty that I would go to my competitor's post and I would report it as doing business. So
Oh
I don't
no.
recommend doing that anymore because I think people have caught on to that trick. But oh, dude, I was ruthless. Like I would scroll and I'm like, who fucking offers the same thing I do? And I'd see it and I'd be like, nope, report, bitch.
Spam.
Yeah, and it'd get fucking kicked. And I remember I got quite a bit of work and I was like, it's gotta be because I'm deleting other people's ads. But
Oh, dude, that's hilarious. It's so funny to look back at, how you started and how we all started really, but just the lengths we would go to get some work and to get some business and to get some new customers. But I remember those days when you were in Marketplace, and
yeah, dude.
but also too, I mean, it's not that it's a bad thing either, like, because especially
Exposure.
at the time you could do that. And so I'm like, yeah, who am I to say that don't do that? It's not black hat advertising. It's totally legal. It's good enough. You're not going to get suspended for it, but it's nowadays they've kind of
They've
axed it.
figured out the algorithm to where they don't
Yeah.
allow it. Yeah.
But
I will say we got quite a bit of work from doing that though.
yeah,
You
it
know,
was
and
that
Facebook
mainly like
posting.
demo, like concrete demo and
A lot of
land
demo.
management.
We
Yeah.
got finish grades from that. I mean, basically we got a boulder wall project from that because somebody in the lakes area is like, oh, I was looking for rocks for sale. And it was a picture of a boulder wall or
They were
something.
gonna
So
do it themselves with
yeah,
the
they
old
were.
John
And they're like,
Deere.
oh, well, let's have this guy do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, like you said, it's looking back on those days and you were straight up bootstrapping it. And it's fun to kind of recollect the thoughts on that because you're like, damn, I really did that. What a douchebag, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Dude,
It is.
we make it here somehow. And I mean, it's like we were just talking about right before we were recording this podcast, we re-recorded our what do you call it? Our
Intro. Yeah.
intro video, because the first one we had on there is still on there as like our trailer, and it was done in like 2022. And I was telling you, Luke, I didn't even listen back to it. I'm like, I just
Yeah.
know we need to re-record it. But yeah, it's just funny how you just got to start though. You got to figure it out and then
And
surround
just
yourself with people that,
constantly improve. Yeah.
yeah, constantly improve. And even with this marketing stuff too, I mean, it's always changing. And so I think putting a few good people in your corner that, and not just one, but a few good people that you can ask questions to and make sure that you're staying on top of it. I think that's always a good help, because if you're running an excavation company, you can't stay on top of it all yourself.
Mhm.
And that's just a fact. I mean, everything's changing every single day. So don't put too much time and effort into focusing on digital marketing things. Like, focus on running your business, and then ask some other nerd that, like me,
Yeah.
that stays on top of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. You said it fucking nail on the head, brother. Okay. I got one from Canadian Sanitation.
Oh, let's go.
If you were to be really good at one thing, would it be sales or marketing? Here, we're going to answer at the same time in the count of three. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll go 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Marketing.
Sales.
Shit,
Fucking
shit.
knew it.
I
Fucking
went way
knew
too
it.
early, but it's obvious. I mean, your marketing is your sales. Luke, I'm just gonna take
Dude, I
the
think your
mic here
sales is your
first.
marketing.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna respectfully disagree there. So, the better your marketing is, the less selling you have to do, because people are so entrusted in you that they're like, I trust you that you're not gonna screw me over. You're gonna take care of me. Just let me know how much it is. Send me the invoice. I'll get it paid. And your marketing, your branding will get you there. I'm looking forward to hearing your argument to this, but it's okay to be wrong every once in a while.
Fair enough. In our experience, right? I'll relate it to Cole and I. Like we had good marketing behind us, right? We had your full team, we had our, all of our platforms, engagements, right? but how we really dove into like the commercial sector, and I'll accredit it to all of our growth this year, the amount of like LinkedIn messages we sent, the amount of like pirating emails that we tried to find of like
Yeah.
business owners, and then lunches. I mean, Cole and I probably spent at least 10 grand on lunches with all of these owners, with, these GCs, these PMs, and we sold ourselves, right? They didn't give a fuck about our website. They
Yeah.
wanted to know what we could do for them. And that comes solely from selling your services.
All right, you dirtbags, we're going to take a quick break to thank one of our sponsors, Lambert Insurance Services. If you know Luke and I, you know we started this podcast to provide value to the construction industry. When we went to seek out an insurance company to work with, there's not a whole lot that are specific to the industry, and we really didn't want to work with a generalist agency, so we kind of put that on the back burner. Then we got to meet Sam Lambert. Sam is a fellow dirtbag himself. He's been in the industry for a long time, but he also started his insurance company in 2008 specifically for construction companies. So when we had that conversation, we knew that this would be the perfect match. So we started working with him, and he's been incredible. He leads first. He wants to be a resource first and an insurance agency second. They can help with provide general liability, workers' comp, commercial truck insurance, insurance for equipment, and so many more different avenues that he can provide coverage for. The great part about it is, they're licensed in most states, and they always quote through multiple companies. So that's how you know you can get a competitive rate. And even better, Sam, he's the owner. He wanted to provide his cell number just so if you have any questions, specifically from the dirtbags, you can always text him, give him a call, ask to compare plans, or just ask, what his rates would be, and then he can help direct you to the right place or answer your question from there. His number is 385-204-5799, or you can reach them at their website, which is lambert-ins.com. So reach out to him if you have any insurance questions. We're very excited about this partnership. Sam is an awesome guy, and we're just excited to continue providing value for all you dirtbags. So thank you, Lambert Insurance. Give him a text, shoot him a call, let him know that you're fans of the Dirtbags podcast. Let's get back to it. Yeah, that's very fair, because I would double down on that comment too and say, that's 100% right. And as far as that argument, and I think it depends on the business, but I guess the question is if you were really good at one thing, would it be sales or marketing?
I'd still be sales.
Yeah, that's true, because sales is so important, because it's like selling ice to an Eskimo. Like if you can do that, you'll survive any business, any situation, any downturn, because you can sell and you can figure it out. So
I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong, marketing is for sustaining, or brand recognition, right? And sales is for growth.
That's a good point. So yeah, and I think I'm trying to reframe my mindset here, because I do agree with that.
Yeah, it's okay, Luke. We're all wrong every once.
I'm not fully there, but we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Next question.
It depends on the business, but here we go. Next question. That was a really good question. Let me take this next one. So let's see here. Okay, let's do this one. So we got JVD Excavating. Excuse me. Massive dirtbag. Go follow them on Instagram, JVD Excavating. What are some of your, and spells favorite like a Canadian, what are your favorite must read books for business, leadership, etc.? I'm going to take a couple here. So, and this is on me. Somebody asked me to do this a while back. They said you should have all your dirtbags recommended books on your Instagram or something, or on your website. And that's something we're going to have Brandon help us with, is get that done. But a few books that have undoubtedly changed my life and our business is, number one, the E-Myth Revisited. It's Michael E. Gerber, the E-Myth. It stands for the entrepreneurial myth. If you haven't read that, pick it up tonight. Read it. It will change your business. It'll change your life. It really helps you think more like a business owner instead of like owning a job. Building systems, scaling. It's a lot of things that Luke, you and I talk about here. Next one is, this was a very recent book I read a couple months ago. Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. It's the blue book. That one, very similar to the E-Myth, but much more about time and what you want to do with your life. And I know what some of you are thinking, well, I work hard, or I got to put in the hours. I got to grind. It teaches good character. He doesn't go against that. He just says, like, what do you want to do with your life? If you really enjoy business, you can do that, but you actually have a choice now. And so Buy Back Your Time, Dan Martell. The third one, that another game changer for me, and I'm going to preface this with saying I'm not a spreadsheet guy, but I love business numbers. I like
Yep.
to try and make businesses work. It's called Simple Numbers, Straight Talk, Big Profits, and it's by Greg Crabtree. Funny enough, he was actually speaking at our event in Miami last week, and so I got
Sweet.
to, yeah, dude, and so I got to meet him, and I was like, dude, I'm not a numbers nerd, but I love business. And I was like, your book like changed it all for me. So he's awesome. I forget how he says it, but he's like, he was an accountant, but now he's an entrepreneur. And so he sees beyond the numbers. So he
Cool.
doesn't nerd out about the numbers, but he looks at business as a whole. So taking those three, a couple others, got to give a shameless plug to my own book, The Digital Dirt World. If you're looking to learn about digital marketing for construction companies, that's literally all I talk about in there. So pick that up. That one is on Amazon. And then finally, I'm gonna do Scott Peeper's book, dude. It was so good.
Oh yeah, I want to read that one.
Oh, so okay, so it's called The Big Book of Cash Flow.
Okay.
Scott Peeper, I somebody can confirm with me. I believe you can find it on their website, which is Mobilization Funding something or another.
Yep.
If you look it up, you'll find it. It's like 90 some pages. I read it in one sitting before our webinar, and like I said, I'm not a numbers guy, but that opened a lot of doors for me of understanding cash flow in construction. So
Fuck yeah.
grab that book. There's my 5 recommendations, and those books have changed my life. And this comes from somebody that didn't hardly read 10 books in my life up until 2 years ago. So I'm
Fuck yeah.
not a big reader. I didn't read all the Harry Potters and shit like that. Like I just picked up a couple self-help books, a couple business books that I'm actually interested in, and
Yep.
have now started to learn a lot from those books.
Love that. I'm just writing mine down as you were mentioning those. So I don't have, oh, well, I've got some recommendations, and these are the ones that I've just kind of gone through right now. But my first one, Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Oh, dude, let's go.
Really good book. And it just clearly defines like how you think and how you treat a business for like future growth, and then what that looks like as like a highly, effective leader, and somebody that's, not what's the word that I'm trying to say? Not greedy. Somebody
Yeah.
that can really build a solid foundation for growth and prosperity, and really good book. So I would highly recommend that one. Then I've got Your Next 5 Moves. I don't know if you've heard of this one, but that one's
Dude,
by Patrick Bet David.
Olivia's read it, and I haven't read it yet, but she said game changer. Like I have to
Really
read it.
good. It's actually funny. That was so it's an I read it, or I didn't read it, right? It was an audio book. I listened to that one from Fargo on the way to the septic conference that we
Oh,
were at.
Michigan?
Yeah, and it was like a 12-hour audio book, and my drive was like 12 and a half hours. So I was like,
Hell yeah.
perfect. Put it on, listen the whole way through, and I was so engaged listening to it. Really good. And it just speaks about like processes and things that you can do to improve where you're at, and constantly growing. So really good. And then I got 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. I'm not even going to give you a recap on that one, just because you got to go listen to it, because it's really good. And if you know Jordan Peterson, he's like that philosophy guy, talks about just really, really smart, really, really in tune with life, with success, with, people's emotions, all that good stuff. And then a shameless plug, Andy Frisella, Real AF. If you want to learn how to be a really good leader, go listen to Andy's Q&As, because somehow, some way, they will pertain to your day-to-day life, and you'll be able to implement what he says. And he's very black and white. There's no gray area with him, which I love.
Yeah, I'm gonna do an honorable mention just as we're talking about it. And as you mentioned, Andy, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willing.
Yep.
That one will
That's
put
good.
you in your that one will put you in your place if you're an
Fast.
owner and you need that. I will say that you read that or you meet him or you listen to him speak and he doesn't care about what excuses you have of who did what or what your team did. He's like, who owns this company? You
Yep.
figure it out. That's on you. And so he's incredible. And then um one other one, just since we're talking about it, Chris Voss, I believe is his name.
Yep.
Never Split the Difference. He's
Yep.
a hostage negotiator. That one was sick. Like
That's a
just
really good book.
that was when I was huge into like buying and selling Craigslist stuff and like
Oh
dirt
yeah.
bikes and dune buggies. And I was like, never split the difference.
Yeah,
Like,
fuck you. I'm not giving you that extra $500 off. Fuck you. You
oh
come get it at
man,
my price. And then you lose the sale and you're like, damn.
shit.
Yeah.
But no, he's awesome too. So no, great question. We don't talk about books enough, I think, and it's cool to see that he asked that question and that we, got to talk about it for a little bit. So
Hell yeah. No, good question. Next one we've got from Jack. Jack's question, Luke E, what are your goals for the podcast in 2024? Luke P, did you end up buying that plumbing business? If so, how is that going? I'll answer first because mine's short and sweet. We're in negotiations. We're trying to make something happen. I don't have really any other details other than that until we sign the dotted line, which our hope is to be done by April if we can come to terms, and we'll be rocking.
sweet. Yeah, and I guess goals for the podcast. Yeah, I'll go through a couple. Luke, obviously you and I have talked about this, but we haven't like set anything
We
in
really aired
stone.
them.
Yeah, but kind of where we're at with the podcast, we like we mentioned a couple times is this is a business. This is always going to be a business. We're not scared about that at all. We're looking at bringing a couple more sponsors on. My guess is that it'll be by the end of the year. I'd like to have it would probably be that 4 to 6 sponsors
Yep.
mark. Depends on one or two of the sponsors, what package they come in at and how big the sponsorship is will depend on those supporting sponsorships. But um, as far as top line revenue, my uh, um, blue
I
sky
think we're
goal was 300.
Yep.
Realistic goals about 150, I would say. I'd be
Yep.
very happy hitting about 150K. And a big goal that we actually accomplished, I would say, is we brought Brandon on full time, and that is very recent. But Phaser's taking like 70% of his salary, and then
Yep.
Dirtbags is taking the other 30. And that'll kind of be adjusted as we go. Is like, is he doing more Dirtbag stuff?
Dirt
Then we'll
bags. Yep.
shift more over. But so that definitely plays into our goals of how can we put out more content for you guys as far as micro content, easy to digest 1 minute videos and grow our YouTube page, Instagram, TikTok, just so we can reach more dirtbags out there. But back to some of the goals. So I'd say 150. Our margins are very high. So we're investing a lot back into it. We're coming out with just some other fun stuff. I know we're doing a lot of like Dirtbags University and Dirtbags Podcast mugs, sweatshirts, things like that you guys can buy. That's a big goal, but also reinvesting into our speakers for Dirtbags University. We pay for those speakers to be there. Luke, you and I are doing some more traveling with the Dirtbags bank account. Like that's some people think that that's pretty wild. We have Dirtbags credit cards,
Mhm.
all that stuff. So, um, and a couple of the things is, a couple of these bigger deals, if we do hit them, looking at taking a couple trips, business trips, maybe some more speaking. But really, I'd say to wrap it up in a bow, one of my last goals, I would say, is to have a big education sponsor. So somebody that says, we're backing the Dirtbags, a well-known company that is going to take on the whole Dirtbags University sponsorship and the podcast and say, we believe in education for the construction industry. We know you guys are doing something different, but we want to be a part of it. And then they come in into a long-term, probably like a 12-month at least
Yep.
deal with us. And so, and then I guess lastly, finally getting a drink sponsor on the table.
Dude, I agree with every single one of those points. Hell yeah. And to your point, I I I think I love seeing you speak, right? Because you have such a great service to provide these people, and bringing this to different, conferences, events. It's really cool to see that brand grow, but it's cool to see how that ties in with the dirt bags and what we're trying to accomplish. So I know that more of a hats off to you on that, but very cool to see.
Yeah, thanks, man. And yeah, just like excited to have more fun too. I know with uh so not to go down too big of a rabbit hole, but at my marketing conference I was at, they're talking about putting on big events for your clients. And I was like, yeah, I don't really see us put it like renting out a full conference room, doing all this stuff. And
You guys
but
do an
what I
event, the Boys and Girls Club event.
so we do that actually.
That's a blast.
Yeah, I just stepped into this and I didn't even think about that. But
Yeah.
so we do that, but where I was going with that is um, what I can really see the dirtbags doing is, let's say, Con Expo, World of Asphalt, these big shows that are going on. If we're already there, let's just say, hey, Wednesday night we're having a dirtbags meetup at this casino or this hotel. You can bring your plus ones. We're gonna do drinks and dinner or something, and then I could really see us growing that because, like, we're not event managers either, and we don't want to be, but at the same time, we want to get people together when we're already at the same place. So I could really see us, especially Con Expo 2026. I could really see that being a huge year for us because it gives us another couple years under our belt, and we can say, hey, Tuesday night, all the dirtbags are getting together. Like, you can choose the Case Construction after party, the John Deere party, or you can come to the dirtbags one. And I don't know, dude. I could see that in our future of just having a great time with very like-minded people, and just not stuffy, not corporate, not stuffy, and just a good
Yep.
time.
But here to fucking play some blackjack and drink some Coors Lights.
Split some aces, well, split some fours, maybe. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Speaking of blackjack, having fun, right? You and I got the shit kicked out of us at the casino that we were at, and that was
Dude.
brutal. But you know what they say? Every gambler loses right before they win big, so we got to keep trying.
Dude, I did keep trying after, because I think you forgot, but I had a conference in Vegas like the next week.
You
And so
did.
I'm like, I use that same motto as like Luke said, if you don't keep playing, I mean, I'm due.
Yep.
And
Every good player quits before they win big.
yeah, and excuse me, I had a great time, but I got the shit kicked out of me again. And I'm like, man, maybe I'm not playing by the right book. People say,
Third,
yeah,
third
play by
time.
the book. So yeah, we got to take one more trip. Maybe Vegas, you and I can go. If we get one of these bigger deals, we can go to Vegas, gamble it all. And if we win, we're going to double it. If we
Put it all
lose,
on black, baby.
yeah, we're done. We're
Yep.
closing up shop. We're closing up the dirt bag. So
Hell yeah. Love it. Okay, next question. This one's coming from Dustin. What are the differences / similarities when pricing commercial excavation work versus residential? Do the formulas change? Do you aim for different margins? Cheers. That's a good question. I'll tell you, residential is probably the most like aggressive and oversaturated mark in the excavation space. So our whole preface on the residential field is that we want to work for certain residential companies that they understand, like, hey, we know the cost of doing this. What makes sense for both of us? And those relationships are really tough to find. We've got 3 contractors that are like that. And I mean, we're still even really cheap. In our area, we're $9,000 to $11,000 for a full basement, on these excavations. Well, more than 9, probably 10 to 12. I'd say roughly, because they're getting bigger. But I mean, your margin on that is maybe $1,500 if all goes right. So you got to get really creative on how to, make some money on the residential side. The nice part about residential is that they usually pay very fast. These home builders are, a 15, 20-day net, and it helps your cash flow. But there is that fine line of like, hey, is it worth it? For us, it's kind of about keeping the relationships and just kind of a brand recognition thing. But if you're doing it for free, don't do it.
yeah,
It'll just be a constant spiral down. So the formulas definitely change. You really got to figure out where your market is for that, because 99% of the home builders will drop you. Doesn't matter your relationship with them if somebody is $200 cheaper. It's crazy, but it's also their bottom line too, that they make more money. So it's very cutthroat.
Yeah, and they look at the multiple too, right? They're not just that's the big thing. They're not just doing one or two or five. It times that by however many homes they're doing. So um yeah, dude, that's the shitty thing. But what one thing I always like to see, or one thing I like to say to somebody, especially when they're just starting out, is, well, two things. For one, try and start with the work that people don't want to be doing. And because you'll get fed a lot of that work from these bigger construction companies. But two, try and get specialized in something so that you can differentiate yourself from every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a skid steer. And so, what I mean by that is a lot of what I see is if people are serious getting into excavation, they would consider getting into putting septics in the ground. And because that is something that you actually have to be certified through the state, and you have to like pass these tests and get it inspected. And it's not just like the weekend warriors that you're competing against now. And
It's a
there's
lot
a
more of
few,
a specialized market.
yep, absolutely. And another one too that I really enjoy is, the 24/7 emergency repairs, because most people they want to go 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, maybe Saturday 9 to 2. But it's like, if you really want the work, you let people know you're available. And Dylan Mercier always comes to my mind. His 3 a.m. wake up calls, like
Dude,
his, I mean, it's crazy, but if you want it, it's there and you can go get it. So those are some of my favorites, is either getting specialized or doing something that people don't want to do. And so when you're talking about just like gravel driveways or some easier building pads, it's so competitive that, I mean, you might get a few right off the gate and you might be crushing them. But if you don't have a plan to specialize a little bit, it's going to be very tough in a down residential market.
very tough. Yeah, because you're competing against everybody and their mother, and you're competing against people who don't know how to bid them to where they'll be like, yeah, I'll do your, you know,
Yeah.
6,000 square foot driveway for $1,000 with material. Sure, fuck it, you know.
The
But
Home Depot
yeah,
Warriors.
yeah, 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 yeah. The 11 percenters we call
Nothing wrong with Home Depot.
them.
Just
Yeah,
want to put that out there.
the rebaters. But yeah, I mean, residential, commercial, they are two different animals. So there's not a whole lot of similarities between the two.
Yeah.
Our commercial estimating process is very in depth as far as geotech, soil reports, soil, abatements. Do we have to overex? Do we have to import? So, there's a lot more variables compared to residential. I mean, we have with our builders, they have set plans. And
Yeah.
then if there's variations from those plans, it's spin-offs of what we already sent them for base bid pricing.
Right.
So it's the biggest thing is time. When you're estimating, factor your time and then get your rates figured out, and then you'll be pretty on par. And if you're not winning work, adjust your time, right? Figure out your rates. See what other people are, bidding for hourly on their skid steers or excavators or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. That's a really good point, because I think, and it's a little less dramatic with residential, but yeah, if you look at a project and you get the starry eyes of like, oh, that's the biggest check I'll ever have, but then it takes you 3 extra days and you don't factor that in of like time, how long you're going to be on site, and also what it's cutting into of productivity loss of the additional 3 days that you're on site. You're also losing those 3 days of the next project. So just making sure, I would say at the very base, that you're as efficient as possible. And that's how you can really make some of your margin, which is can be pretty slim, especially when you're starting out.
100%. Yeah, and it's like we said, it's very cutthroat. So you got to get creative on how to make some money on that end.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, I think that's a wrap on the
That's all our
questions.
questions.
Unless, did you have any other that came in?
No, oh, there's one, but we got to save that one for the next Q&A. That one's
Perfect.
that one's a long one, so we'll go a little bit more in depth with that one.
Cool. We'll save that one. Yeah, as always, guys, send us your questions if you've got them. We'll read them off like we did here, and we'll go through them and give you guys a shout out. But definitely appreciate all you guys listening, engaging with the show. That's the reason we are able to have these sponsors and this podcast and these universities. I mean, it's all going back to you guys, and we just appreciate you guys listening, engaging with the show, sending us your questions, and just keeping this train moving. So
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you guys.